All right, Becky and I are back. We're here for the top 8 of the Legacy NRG 5K. If you've been watching since day one, round one of the Modern, you're a hero. You're a champ. People should follow you, but instead I'm going to ask that they follow us because we're the ones providing the content. You're just consuming it. All right, let's go. Top 8 bracket. Becky, what do you want to see? Here we go.
There's a lot of things that I want to see. I am actually happy with the deck that we're going to be watching. I do kind of wish we could have started with the Oops All Spells deck, just especially because I'm anticipating that match will be kind of fast, as it does either do the winning pretty quickly or do the losing pretty quickly.
Mhm.
But we are, in fact, going to be watching Rodney Bedell versus Will Kowalczyk.
Kowalczyk. Yeah.
Kowalczyk,
All
thank
right.
you.
So we got green
Yeah.
white depths against blue red delver. So same matchup we just saw. Other players in the top 8. So we said it's about half Delver. In fact, we ended up with half blue red, maybe not all Delver. Isaac Bullwinkle does not refer to his deck as Delver. But we've got Mark Nabors on a mono red prison versus Joseph Bernal with Izzet Delver. Isaac Bullwinkle on Izzet Control Ish versus Ethan Cummins on Elves. Barry Pietrowski with Oops All Spells did make it in against Don Delosier playing as Delver. Okay, so there is the field. There's what we're looking at right now. We are starting with Rodney Bedell against Will Kowalczyk. Let's go ahead and take us down. The players are ready. Let's get over there. This has been a really long day, a long weekend for everyone involved. You at home, us doing work here, players playing. Let's no reason to make them wait any longer. We are off.
At all. And there are a few kind of spicy things about this Selesnya deck that we're going to be seeing Rodney playing. It is pretty similar to the one that we were just seeing, and going to be a similar play to, I feel like, what we were seeing Ashlyn do a lot of on previous rounds as well, which is Green Sun Zenith thing for a Dryad Arbor to start off.
Okay, so a good way to start off with a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. Rodney Bedell, first. Interesting. Did we? Okay. And yet, are we confident about the seedings here? Oh, I see. Okay. So Rodney Bedell, number 1 seed versus Will Kowalczyk, 8th seed. But the reason why you're confused and why I was confused, Rodney Bedell is up a game because Will Kowalczyk received a game loss for somehow deck registration issues. So that is why the lower seed is going first here. It's because he's lost a game already. So I don't have any additional info about that, but that is what happened, and that's why we're where we are. I'll get an answer from production as far as whether the players could sideboard then for this game. I believe the answer is yes.
Yeah, if there's enough known information anyway, which I imagine there would be some at this point in the day, but
right. Well, it's open deck list now in top 8, so they are allowed a full preview of what each other is playing. Okay, this is not a sideboard game, I'm told. So anyway, that's I believe where we're at now. We have 2 flyers in play for Will Kowalczyk, trying to even up this match, trying to overcome his error that was somewhat costly, but trying not to make it be the death of the match. Rodney Bedell out here with Sylvan Library and Dryad Arbor. No defense against the Flyers at this point, and yeah, 6 damage coming across.
I'm going to utilize the Sylvan Library. Look at the top of the deck. I think we saw an Endurance and a Green Sun Zenith. Both cards that you likely would be interested in, but I don't know how aggressive you tend to see this Sylvan Library end up being in the Legacy in particular.
Yeah, well, 1 card to turn is all you really need. This Selesnya deck's not looking to play 2 or 3 spells at once, and 1 Endurance seems like plenty right now. And then if there's a Green Sun, next turn you Green Sun for another one if this one doesn't resolve.
Yeah, we'll see how Will intends to rebuttal here. Starting off with that Misty Crack to see We're going for that final volcanic island. Looks like it.
Why not? So Will Kowalczyk here. Potentially, you could be suspicious. Your opponent's got Sylvan Library and had nothing to do. So maybe you do actually worry about endurance here. Unfortunately, Dragon Rage Chandler is not good at playing around endurance, as it, even if you want to, if you're aware of your opponent having it, if you know they have it, Dragon Rage Chandler still attacks into it.
Is true. Brainstorm on the stack, and it looks like Rodney is going to respond by just saying, "Here's an endurance. I don't want a large Dragon Rage channeler coming in."
Right. So this would prevent Murktide from coming in. It does allow the Dragon Rage Chandler to survive. Someone mentioning that this is Naya. So this is green white depths. The red mana is similar to the other one. Is I believe we're just splashing for Pyroblast out of the sideboard.
And Minsk and Boo.
Oh, this deck has Minsc and Boo too. Okay,
This deck
so
has Minsk and Boo.
all right. Well, then maybe we can get a look at that, as we did not see it on camera the other time, the other deck that we saw that had it.
Oh, it's not available in our card search, which fair enough. But that is going to be the final card, or the other reason to be splashing for red here.
Yeah,
And it is the Timeless Heroes version of Minsk and
very
Boo. Just
exciting
curious.
card. Yes, and hamsters indeed. Hamster planeswalkers that attack fairly hard and draw lots of cards and do damage. Basically, does everything. It's like a flame tongue ancestral.
Well, I would play one too then.
Yeah, why not? And it's a planeswalker. I mean, everyone loves planeswalkers.
That's
It
true.
can't get pyroblasted. I mean, these are like massive pluses here. So yeah, I guess it is
Yeah.
just Naya. We'll see. Oh, how this all plays out. It is listed as Selesnya Reclaimer, but those are
I
self-reported.
do Yeah, I do also like the name. Well, it was initially listed as Rogue Deck List.
Oh, I see.
That was what Rodney put it as. We've changed it to Selesnya Reclaimer.
Okay. Well, I was not consulted on the naming. All right, so an attack comes in anyway after that endurance, and here we have a bolt to double up and finish off the endurance, but it will take down the Dragon Rage Chandler, which is probably what Rodney is hoping to achieve here. And Expressive Iteration, after this is very nicely done, after the Surveil, a crop rotation, but crop rotation gets Force of Willed. That crop rotation may have been looking for Sajiri Step to save the endurance. This is a lot of work for Will Kowalczyk to be able to 2-for-1 himself. It ended up being quite a bit more involved than that. But the creatures will eventually trade, and 3 damage from the Delver will come across.
Yeah, you're saying it ended up being a little more involved than then. That seems to be putting it lightly, but is going to be the case. And take a look at some extra cards because of that Sylvan Library. Decide to draw that one. And looks like we have a Swords to Plowshares in hand. Very nice choice of the Neon Dynasty Kamigawa basic lands.
So does swords get cashed in? No reason to. We have another endurance. So that will clean the graveyard once again and allow the swords to be saved for something a little more substantial like Murktide Regent.
Yeah, and also just stop it, as Will only has one card now. Oh, had two cards, now has three. Okay. I was like, when you only have one card in hand, you might as well try to keep them off of the Murktide region as much as possible, which I think is the reason that you would end up deploying something like that endurance on your main phase.
Okay, Dragon Chandler and a fetch land. Will with just one card left. Rodney with only 1 or 2 cards, but Sylvan Library accounts for quite a bit. And Rodney forgot to use Sylvan Library for the turn. Well,
Oh,
these things happen, but is now going to ask about uh, Sylvan Library. I believe in this case, potentially, although I've never seen this happen, Rodney would be allowed to rearrange the top 2 cards of the deck. As Sylvan Library does say draw, you just
yeah.
are for, yeah, and so that's what's going to happen. And I guess you could still pay life and draw one of these as well. This actually
Mhm.
is completely the only restriction with the first card drawn into hand is that you cannot return that one to the deck anymore.
Yeah.
So an odd little moment there.
Looks
Green White
like
Depths
don't
does
like
have.
either.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say just doesn't like either of the cards that we rearranged anyway, is gonna
Mhm. Yeah.
make sure that they're shuffled away and into a different order anyway.
Yeah, it is nice. Green White Depths has numerous ways to shuffle the deck between fetch lands, crop rotation, green sun zenith, elvish reclaimer. It's a wonder the turns they don't shuffle.
Yeah, people
And
asking what decks made it in. There were 4 Izzet decks, only 3 of them really being Delver. One of them is just an Izzet-ish list. Mono Red Prison, Oops All Spells, Elves, and this Selesnya Reclaimer deck.
yeah, oops all spells making top 8. Nice. That's something you don't see every day. Just like, I mean, occasionally back in the day, you used to see a Charbelcher make top 8 once in a while.
Mhm.
The SCG Legacy Open that I won, I actually beat Charbelcher in the finals.
Mhm.
They may have been people may have me to thank for Charbelcher having never won like a premium event. You're welcome if you're a Charbelcher hater or just a fan of order instead of chaos. Neither reliquary enters play here for Rodney, and yeah, this Sylvan Library is just going to continue to serve up probably just 1 card a turn as Rodney's at 7 life, but they should be high quality on a regular basis. And this knight, I'm not sure how big this knight is. I don't think it's huge.
Yeah, I think it only gets +1. I only see a Dryad Arbor in the yard, and I don't think that we've been throwing too many things in the yard.
All right, well, now it'll grow a little bit and get out of lightning bolt range. And unlike the last time we saw Green and White Depths, which was only half an hour ago, where Wastelands were constantly in play on the other side of the field, not so much this time. So Rodney is a little more free to attempt Merit Lage combos and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and we'll see if that even ends up being the game plan. It could end up being the way that this game is finished, but a lot of these smaller creatures have been holding down the fort solidly well.
Mm-hmm. All right, Rodney. Yeah, there we go. We got some dice on there eventually. So there is Dark Depths, Thespian Stage in play, Cradle to Pride Mana, and no activation immediately. So not sweating a potential wasteland here with crop rotation in hand and reclaimer in play. I suppose that does make sense. Although with crop rotation in hand, Merit Lage itself is pretty safe as well. And passing out the turn. So here we go. First time
Let's
today we've
do it.
seen Merit Lage assembled.
Yeah, I feel like we've just watched these reclaimer decks do reclaimer beats
Mm-hmm.
and haven't seen actually them get to do depth combos.
Right. Well, there it is. This Night of the Reliquary also is probably, I think, 5/5 now.
Getting a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm. All right. Rodney's like, I'm going to resolve Sylvan Library correctly this time. Just watch me. Now, we know the crop rotation is in hand. And we know this Dragon Rage Challenger doesn't have Delirium right now as it didn't attack. Ooh, Prismatic Ending takes out Delver. That would clear the path for Merit Lage to swing for the fences.
Yeah, there could potentially be something like a petty theft
Oof,
as one of the cards in hand. And some
that's
sort of
true.
plowshare is just going to try and make sure that absolutely nothing gets in the way.
Right, now Will can attack, or Rodney can attack with everything. Right, Knight stays back. There is petty theft. You called that correctly. Here is crop rotate, or I'm sorry, another reliquary instead is the choice. Looking for zero series step, and well, Rodney Bedell is going to claim the first quarterfinal match. Unfortunate for Will Kowalczyk, being assessed a game loss for deck registration issues and unable to overcome it. But Rodney Bedell will pick up the first quarterfinal match of our Energy Legacy 5K. but don't go away. We've got other matches in action. We have, I'm going to guess, since that was fast enough, we may actually have live coverage, or do we have? All right. All right. We're still in game one of the other quarterfinal match that's on camera. Let's go ahead and jump into that right now. Or
Maybe.
pause long enough just so we can feel a little awkward. There we go. All right. All right. So here we go. So this is live. I know it says time shifts on the screen right now. We'll get that cleaned up. This is live in game one. Mark Nabors, Monterey Prison, who we did see on camera earlier today in round 6. If you want to go back and watch him play earlier on against Sneak and Show, here facing Joseph Bernal and Izzet Delver. And Joseph was also on camera earlier today, round 4. So these players, no strangers to the highlight reels.
Is Joseph Bernal hellbent?
Yes, he is.
Whoa. Hellbent, but we're what do you call hellbent but with like no lands?
I don't know, but the Oops All Spells deck is perfecting that.
Oh, true. Yeah, I want the update on how the Oops All Spells deck did.
Well, we'll try and get it for you. All right, so Mark Nabors here with the prison deck. We'll see if these life tools are accurate. Mark Nabors at 20 still, so untouched.
And
Interesting
Stomp to
setup
take
here.
out Delver of Secrets, I imagine, was the play. So now that Bone Crusher Giant on an adventure and is going to be able to enter the battlefield. Well, only after Goblin Rabble Master.
Yeah, Rabble Master, a nice card. If there's no removal by Joseph Bernal, all the creatures in this red deck have haste elements to them and hit pretty hard. Legion Warboss, Goblin
No.
Rabble Master, and the new one, the Fire Slag Boy, who I can't remember the name of right now. I'll figure that out
Let
in a
us
moment.
have the Baby Yoda Goblin. Fireflex Squad? Is that the one
Is
you're
that what
trying
it
to
is?
come up with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what.
Fireflex Squad. The
Yeah, the
commander card?
4-mana 4/3 haste guy.
Yep.
Tell me the name again.
Fireflex Squad?
Okay, Fireplug Squad. All right.
Put it up on screen, Dave. Ooh, Magus of the Moon is coming in. Not really gonna do a ton of damage here though.
No, but this Rabble Master will do plenty of damage.
Yeah, the Rabble Master is definitely making up for it for sure.
Yeah, this is an attack for 6 this turn. And Bernal has no answers. Okay, this is gonna. I believe Bernal has the Pyroblast in hand. So we have seen Pyroblast's main deck all over the field in these blue-red decks and making good use of them. But we've also seen players get punished for having the Pyroblasts in matchups like this against Monterey Prison. Bernal unable to find a use for it, and if that had been another removal spell, a Chain Lightning perhaps, taking out the Rabble Master, may buy him several additional turns.
Yeah, it's a little bit kind of back and forth because I feel like when you're only playing those 2 or even 1 in Zach Dubin's case for those Pyroblasts in the main board, the fact that we've been seeing people get punished, I feel like it's just got to be a little bit of an unlucky coincidence. The one time that they're getting punished throughout the day happens to be on camera, or a lot of the decks that they're ending up playing against are just so punishing in those game ones that it's getting to show up really heavily here.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and look at the deck list. The players are looking at each other's deck lists right now. So we should do the same. Mark Nabors, Monterey Prison. If you didn't see it before when he was on camera, here it is. The Monterey Prison deck's kind of defined by the Chalice Trinisphere Blood Moon package. And then over the years, the threats have changed as card qualities just generally improved over the last decade.
Very
So you can
true, and
see
we continue to.
what he has brought.
We are getting to see just one more extra copy of Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. The Dead and Gones are available, but I don't know that they're really going to come in. I feel like we already have so much removal, we couldn't possibly need more. And not like, I guess Gone is quite good for getting rid of things like a Murktide Regent, but
Yeah, it certainly could be. Leyline is also alternatively a way of dealing with Murktide, just not letting into play in the first place. Obviously, there is some risk to plays like that, as I believe the other way to make use of the cards are imprinting on Chrome Mox or pitching to Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which might be enough actually to justify bringing those in because they are reasonable. And then
Yeah,
if
it
we
feels
look
like
at
a little less fixing than the Izzet version, though, which, yeah, we can go ahead and look at.
yeah, so we'll look at Joseph Bernal's Izzet Delver list. Playing kind of the outlier blue-red deck in Modern yesterday with Snapcaster Mages. Here today with Delvers, Dragonbridge Channelers, 2 Brazen Borrowers. Almost every other player that we saw in the field with Izzet Delvers playing 1 copy. And a couple
Yeah.
Pyroblasts. So definitely has a few cards to board out.
Yeah, things like the Young Pyromancer to come in and at least do some blocking, trying to amass some things might be kind of nice, especially because a lot of these other things, I don't know that they look very I mean, Meltdown might be kind of nice to get rid of some of those accelerating artifacts, but this
Mhm.
feels a little bit like you're not gonna wanna bring the Pyroblast in. Flusterstorm seems kind of medium. You're not really surgical extracting anything. So some of these cards feel pretty middling, and we might just have to deal with putting in things like the Young Pyromancers and maybe Meltdown and hope to be able to use it to get rid of some of the, peripheral artifacts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Pyromancer seems solid. I think Meltdown seems okay to break up Chalice of the Void. Hitting Chrome Monster, that's nice, but hitting Chalice of the Void could be relevant. And really, there's nothing else here that Bernal wants, I don't think, out of his sideboard. We saw one other player bring in, Pyroblast against a non-blue deck. Didn't work out too well, so Bernal unlikely to repeat the feat and see if it works better for him. So some swaps that seem obvious: Pyroblast out, maybe Pyromancer in, Meltdown in, more additional cards to be taken out. So there's some tools to work with. I don't hate the mono red deck's position here.
Mhm.
Uh, it is frustrating that the attack squad all involves going through on the ground. The young Pyromancers are good at coming up the board, and there's not really much removal in the mono red person deck. I mean, there's some, but young Pyromancers, if they make it onto the board, they're not, they have a good chance of living for quite a while and messing things up, being in the way in general.
Yeah, it's not like this mono red prison deck is playing End the Festivities in the sideboard or
Mhm.
anything to be able to really quickly clean up a lot of those things. And instead, again, does have the Dead and Gones, which could potentially come in. They're at least pretty good at clearing up those smaller creatures, as well as at least being able to bounce and deal a lot of damage to those Delph Dragons as well. It just is an interesting little bit of a difference, and it will be interesting to see how Mark Neighbors decides to navigate it.
Mhm. Yes, indeed. So the players are getting ready for game number 2. Mark's still consulting the sideboard. Joseph Bernal doing his customary pile shuffling. You see that in chat there, Becky? You see that?
What, the pile shuffling or?
No, no. Someone saying my hairline is powerful. Not a
There's a
compliment.
reason I have bangs. It's so that nobody can see my hairline. That's what you
Oh,
gotta do. You just gotta get bangs.
but look, I have a full head of hair. Why would
You
I want to cover
do.
that up?
That's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, I
there's
do too.
well, sure, but you're amazing. I'm just average person, average Joe, actually by definition, but have a pretty solid head of hair. All right, so looks like cyborg consultations are over with, and we are ready for game number 2. So let's head back to the table. The 4 and 5 seed Mark Neighbors did win. Was on the play game 1. Will not have the advantage
Everyone,
in game 2. So
everyone's telling you you look good. I think your hair looks great. People are being shady. It's hard. It's hard being next to me in the hair
I
game.
know, I know. For starters, I mean, unless there's really good lighting, no one's even going to see me because you're just putting out more wattage. You know,
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, it warmed my heart a lot yesterday when I got on camera and one of the first comments was Chandra came to commentate.
yeah, that was a good one.
That was really good.
All
But
right, so
they don't call me Becky with the good hair for nothing, okay? That's
okay.
a it's a Beyonce reference.
Oh,
I'll tell you because I don't know how familiar you are with Beyonce.
I mean, I know a couple of her songs, but probably not the ones released in the last 15 years. Um, I familiar with some of her family members. Um, I know
Oh,
she did the Super Bowl halftime show.
yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, any Beyonce fans in chat? And if you are a Beyonce fan in chat and you wanna let us know, hit the follow button.
Exactly. I'm not promising that we'll tell her that you followed us because of her, but
Joe claims to know some of her family members, so we're not saying
I
that we
meant
do.
I know of her family members, not that I
Oh,
know them
okay, okay.
personally.
All right, that's fair.
Okay, maybe I phrased that incorrectly, but that's what I meant. All right. So in the meantime, we have Ancient Tomb, Chromax eating up a Simeon Spirit Guide, and a Chalice for One in play. So those meltdowns that we talked about would be pretty good here for Joseph Bernal, as it would be a 3-for-1.
Yeah, and we'll see. Did those meltdowns come in? Are we gonna have a way to easily remove this chalice for one? We're gonna find out right here. I'm not gonna make you wait until next week.
It's a young Pyromancer. All right. Well, that does not conclusively prove to Mark Neighbors that Bernal doesn't have meltdown in hand, because maybe he would lead with that. But Neighbors, well, I'm sure will make every effort to maximize his time with having Chalice and Mox on the board, especially Mox generating mana. That is a Den of the Bugbear. Here is a Rabble
Ew.
Master. And okay, Bernal, you're gonna make some tokens? Well, Neighbors gonna make some tokens too. I stand corrected.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no Goblin Rabble Master for Mark Neighbors.
What do I think Beyonce would think of turn one chalice? That's a good question. As somebody who's a big fan of turn one chalices personally, I would just do the put a ring on it mention.
See, I know that one.
Hey, see, yeah.
Yeah.
Baneslayer Angel, I can see your halo.
Ooh, I know that one too. See, I know more than
Oh,
I. Yeah,
see,
yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
you got
I'm
it,
all over it.
Joe.
I'm all over it. All right, so young
Pop
Pyromancer and token
culture
in play.
enthusiast, Joe
Game.
says.
Game. Yeah. I like how you couldn't even say that without laughing. All right. Wasteland takes out Ancient Tomb. And yeah, so this Chalice remains on the board. Does Mark have more mana? It looks like the case is so. Den the Bugbear number 2. All right. Not getting a whole lot of help on what that card might be. And if it gets
Yeah,
countered, then we don't have to worry about it.
that's true. Looks like
All right,
it
today's.
will be dazed. And we're getting all right, young pyromancer also getting to do quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
Let's take a
And so
look at
this is
what
kind of oh, okay. Fable the Mirror Breaker is the
mhm,
double-sided card. That
okay.
is obvious, but it didn't occur to me what double-sided cards were in the deck. So
Oh, there's
already
also
know.
Shatter Skull Smashing.
Okay. So a problem here for Mark Neighbors, like we said, not a great way to deal with a bunch of tokens, and falling behind on the board. Not easy to catch up, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna really I mean, I mentioned that in the festivities earlier, we're gonna really change our mind about playing something like that in the sideboard for Mark Neighbors after this match.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, just two lonely. Well, I guess they're not lonely because they're together, but two Den of the Bugbears in
Mm-hmm.
play and facing down a lot of elementals.
Yep.
The nice part about Young Pyromancer is you start to not even care about the chalice because you're just like, we'll still cast things anyway and be able to make some creatures.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I mean, okay, another Wasteland. And Mark Neighbors life total falling. Bernal in for another 4 damage. And yeah, there's just no real convenient way to clean these tokens up. Red Blast the draw. That's not getting through the chalice. Even if it was, there's nothing to do with it right now.
Mm-hmm. And here they go, sideways, and Mark falling very quickly here.
And another Pyromancer. Yeah, I'm not even sure there's an out here.
Yeah, the Pyroblast looking pretty sad in hand in the face of young Pyromancer.
Okay.
Tokens cleaned up, board cleaned up. Take a look at these sideboards once again. And yeah, what are we thinking that we're actually going to see different? Maybe make a different idea about those dead and gones if they didn't come in initially. Maybe
Well,
we need to bring them in to get rid of young Pyromancer.
I mean, that's fair. Dead Gone would do it. There are fiery confluences in the board. Having seen the deck lists beforehand, now that we're in the top 8, Neighbors knew what he was facing. So whatever he decides to do is probably what he did in game 2, so it should stay the same in game 3.
Yeah, this deck not having a ton of differences, I would imagine, between play draw, aside from maybe choosing to shave some amount of chalices in certain situations because they do get a little bit worse. You're a lot better in a deck like this where you have City of Traders and Ancient Tomb to being able to play it on turn one regardless of player draw, but it is still a lot more potent to be on the play, be able to have that chalice down for
Mhm.
one before your opponent goes to take their turn one.
Yeah. No, certainly it could be. Yeah, these fire confluences, yeah, they do in the face of 3 young pyromancers, they do seem all pretty solid. So maybe those did come in. We may see those.
I don't even know if we ever saw Mark get up to 4 mana though,
We
so
didn't. Yeah. I mean,
could
that
be nice, but we gotta get through one hurdle.
right. I mean, that was the problem in the last game with 3 mana in play. Um, Mark would have needed both a land and a fiery confluence on the last turn, so that wasn't going to happen. And Shadow Skull Smashing wasn't anywhere near um, functioning there.
Yeah, as far as
Going
cards
first,
coming out,
I
yeah.
mean, going first on the play here, I don't know. I guess there's Furies too. So Mark actually does have more answers to the young pyromancers than I realized initially.
Yeah, I would probably be taking out things like the Blood Moon or the Magus. I just don't think that they're doing as much in this matchup, and now that your opponent is gonna know that, like, the deck that you're on, there's a huge chance that they just prioritize getting basic lands over those volcanics anyway with their fetch
Mhm.
lands, so I would be a little bit worried about keeping in all of the blood moons and think that there's just other things that we can be doing better, and this isn't exactly the deck that we're prisoning in the same fashion with a
Right.
blood.
Yeah, no, that's totally reasonable, especially the blood moons. As not being a creature, it's just it's in a lot of scenarios, it's going to be a not maybe a blank, but it's not going to disrupt Bernal as much as neighbors would hope.
Mhm.
All right, so if we're ready for game 3 here, okay, we'll take another glance at Bernal's deck. I think probably not going to too much is going to change here. The meltdowns are either in or they're out. I doubt Bernal's going to change his opinion on the matter just because of what happened in game 2. I guess force of
Yeah.
negation is better when you're going second. You're more afraid of your opponent locking you up early, but still, I mean, that game Chalice came out on turn 1, and
And
Bernal,
it didn't even matter.
yeah, Bernal didn't even remove it, and it was just there, and the young pyromancers just went around it and threw it and across it and just ignored it completely.
Mhm.
So present decks are being presented. Let's go back to the table and see if we can find our second semifinalist.
Alright, drawn up opening hands here. Game number 3, and Mark Neighbors will be on the play going into this one. Looks like those dead and gones did come in.
Mm-hmm.
City of Traders in hand, but not exactly the land you wanna start with, so we'll need to see if we have something else to go along with it.
Well, neighbors on the play here. So deciding first looks like a keep. It could also be a Mox and a City Trader. Actually, it might be a mountain also, but Mox City Traders is enough
Mhm.
probably to start with, and you can get most of the way through a match without having 4 mana. Even though, as we pointed out, Fire Confluence does cost 4 and would have bailed him out of that situation last game.
That's very true. Mountain to start, and that's it. Spooks me a little bit, but I guess like a lot of the things that you're trying to accomplish with Mark Neighbors' deck are quite expensive. So let's just start things off with that City of Traders to go alongside that mountain. First thing to come down is going to be that Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, and that's a nice one. That's a card that Bernal. I mean, that's gonna be a little scary. There's a daze, and Mark Neighbors has maybe 2 more fables. And is this a spirit guide? This is. I love this. Spirit guide to
Ooh.
pay for days. So, and then here's a force of negation. So
Oh,
Bernal giving up
wow.
a little more resources than he probably hoped, but neighbors having to pay the spirit guide as well. So 2 cards cost for neighbors and 3 for Bernal.
But we know that Mark Neighbors just has another one in hand. Is just gonna
Yeah.
try and do the same thing next turn. So this is a lot of resources coming out of the deck for Joseph Bernal, and we'll see if there's gonna be at least a Delver or a Dragon Rage Channeler to get some damage back and start the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. Just a pass. Okay, so mountain drawn for Mark Nabors. Probably not going to want to commit that right away. Could play it after floating mana to try and play around the days, but that is giving up a lot, giving up your City of Traders here.
Mm-hmm. All right, the last one was
okay, Mark is going to do that. He's going to give up the city to have a mana floating. Here is Fable the Mirror Breaker once again.
yeah, last one got a lot of resources thrown at it, so we'll see if
Mm-hmm.
we can get some more resources out of Joseph Bernal this time around.
And this is going to require a think. I mean, if Bernal is to keep this off the board, nope, it's in there. Oh, maybe.
Is it or isn't it?
Unclear.
What? I don't even see anything in hand that looks like a counter. Like I think I see an island, another volcanic.
Okay, bolt the
We're
token.
bolting. Okay.
Okay, bolt.
Sure.
I assume we're not bolting Mark. Yeah, okay, bolt the token. Fable on chapter 1. Chapter 2, Mark will be able to clean his hand up a little bit, get rid of some cards he may not want. And then another creature comes in on chapter 3. Fable of Mirror Breaker, pretty strong card all over Pioneer. Certainly sees some play in Modern, and here we have it in Legacy.
All right. Chapter 2, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Get to do some faithless looting here. Well, faithless rummaging.
Yeah, Chromox's a nice one to get rid of. Once you've reached the point in the game where you don't want it anymore. Den of the Bugbear comes in tapped this time around.
All right, looks like Joseph is going to start off with that expressive iteration, has a wasteland, and is going to say, I don't even want to worry about Den of the Bugbear. Let's stay on the same amount of lands and, yeah, not have to worry about any of those little goblins coming out to play. But speaking of goblins, let's bring out Kiki Jiki. Well, with the reflection of.
All right, Ancient Tomb, Trinisphere. I mean, that's a nice one. That's not game over either, but will slow down any sort of sequences Bernal looks to put together, string together. And there is another Days in hand for Bernal. So Nabors cost himself a little bit by playing around Days last turn, but is rewarded for his efforts for paying the cost.
All right, trying to decipher what Joseph Bernal has in hand. It looks like 2 lands. Hard to see some of the other things. A Delver is the draw for turn.
Mm-hmm. And a pass. So no creature added this turn. Removal spell perhaps on the way. Another Trinisphere drawn from Mark Nabors. And a Dead Gone in hand. So not a ton of offense, but this deck isn't about having a ton of offense. And this Fable has already traded for a Lightning Bolt. In addition to the 2/2 body that's on the board right now. Well, it hurts a little bit to just have your mana go completely unused with Transfer in play, but I guess that's just where Bernal is at. Here's Legion War Boss. That's a much more significant threat than
Yeah, we have a Days in hand. What are the chances
Fable.
that you just use the Days to make sure that you can't copy Legion War Boss with the reflection of Kiki Jiki immediately? Oh, or just force it.
Yeah, there's a force pitching the Days, which costs 3 mana, as you can see Bernal paying for. So that War Boss is off the board. And see Fable attack again. Eventually we'll get to a point where Nabors will draw some effectively useless cards. We saw the duplicate Trinisphere, the Chrome Moxes. I mean, every deck has lands in it, but Nabors deck does have a decent number of useless cards once you get to a certain point in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3 cards in hand. One of them being a Misty, a polluted Delta.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Dead Gone, I think, is still there. Dead Gone will be fine at some point. Here's a target for it right now if he wants to use it.
Yep. Well, we can't use it quite yet,
Well, that's
but
true. Good point. We got to untap first. We got to have mana
Mhm.
available.
Yeah. Pay 3 mana for your 1/1.
So now, this turn, anything Neighbors cast this turn, he knows will resolve, as Bernal does not have 3 mana available to interact. And here is the front side of Dead Gone to remove the Delver of Secrets, and Fable can just attack in for again. Fable is breaking even with the Ancient Tomb so far in damage.
That's true.
So not a whole lot of progress being made. Both players kind of staying even.
But considering it, like, so much of Joseph's deck is stopped by Trinisphere, I think, like, as long as there isn't something destroying this Trinisphere, like, Mark is okay with it.
Sure. A 6th land would allow Bernal to cast 2 spells a turn. That would be nice.
Mhm.
Although,
And I do think that there is another land in hand, actually,
yeah,
so
after all these forces, I mean, there's not that many actual cards in Bernal's hand.
Yeah, and I do think that
Rainforest? Is
ooh,
that Rainforest double meltdown?
I think it's double meltdown, yeah.
Wow. So he's just sitting there. That's why this Fable's consistently getting through is Bernal has drawn sideboard cards and Neighbors has purposely or not perhaps avoided playing into them.
Mhm.
And Bernal takes another 2 damage. This is an unusual game.
It really is. The amount of times that we've seen people bring in or not bring in sideboard cards in these, like, future games and then get kind of messed up by their own decisions or mistakes has been extremely punishing so far in this day.
All right, Bernal down to 7. It's gonna need some action at some point here. Even just something as simple as a lightning bolt would completely remove the clock. But not yet. I think a Murktide Regent in hand and a Brainstorm. Okay, so there is action. So Bernal does have cards. He's just trying to figure out how he wants to deploy them.
Mhm. Yeah, you gotta likely get rid of that Trinisphere first, so trying to decide exactly how that's gonna end up happening here.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I think he's at this point. I think he's okay with the Trinisphere. He's got enough land. He's not
Oh,
gonna.
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, he doesn't need to remove that. I'm
I mean
sure if Mark commits another relevant artifact to the board, Bernal would happily 2-for-1 him with the Meltdown. But until that time, I think he'll just live with it.
mhm. Yeah, that's fair. And probably only needs 1, so this Brainstorm and Misty could get rid of one of them as well,
That's true.
which is kinda nice. Gets you a little bit more value.
All right, Anna Force going to get dropped here. But I'll pass the turn. He may very well be willing to take quite a bit of damage here in order to set up Murktide with protection.
Ooh.
Well,
Ooh.
he just ran out of time for that though. That is the Flame Boy. What is that thing called again?
Fireflux
Fireflux
Squad.
Squad. I think Flame Boy is more accurate. I know I used that like a year ago for some other card, but it can apply to
Flame
multiple cards.
on!
Yeah, so 4/3
It does a lot
with
of things.
haste.
Basically, it exiles another target attacking creature, flips over until you reveal another creature, and then that creature enters the battlefield tapped and attacking.
Right. So Fireflux Squad could convert. Well, we're not going to get that far. All right, that's going to get forced,
It
as that
could
would
kinda
represent the bulk of Bernal's remaining life total. So instead, Force the Will and after the fetch, and now Fable of Kijiki attacks in again. Bernal down to 3. The Murktide is got to come down, and I believe Mark Neighbors has another copy of Dead Gone in hand. He does.
Yeah.
Bernal's going to lead with expressive iteration, and he is going to bolt
Ooh,
the Fable.
okay.
So going for this play instead of the Murktide, still holding on to that, and now Mark's going to need new threats.
Yeah, we got
Salvage.
another bolt in hand too. So if a smaller creature enters the battlefield, we can hopefully take care of it. But 6 mana now for Mark as well at the cost of some life.
Fiery Confluence would end the game here, so Mark clearly doesn't have one of those. All right. If Bernal can dig this out, it's a well played game. He's certainly having to dodge some stuff here. And
He's
Mark,
being so patient with
yeah,
the
yes, he is.
meltdown too.
Yeah, and Mark has just needed another threat. If Mark had drawn another threat here, I think he'd have it. But among that grip of cards in hand, not quite yet.
Is there really a Murktide in hand?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And we're going to see it here, delving away. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to see it. We're going to see Dragon Reach Channeler, which is almost certainly a 3/3 at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plenty of cards in the graveyard, so
Mm-hmm.
does not die to the dead part.
Joseph doesn't have another counter in hand, so do we? Oh, we don't have the Murktide anymore either. Oh, maybe. I thought we had Murktide for a while, but maybe I
It might have been
saw
something
that.
that we brainstormed away.
Yeah, it could be.
I thought we had one too at one point, and now I don't see it, which makes me feel like brainstorm
Yeah,
stormed
we
it
did.
away.
I thought there was one before. There's definitely the hand
Mhm.
right now is definitely Iteration, Meltdown, and Bolt. There goes Dragon Channeler back to hand. Can Mark Nabors find a threat?
There's so many in the deck. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many.
Bernal representing action here does have things, not a counter, but does have removal. So Legion Warboss, Goblin Rabmaster, things like that. Fireflux Squad, not gonna do it right here.
All right. What's in hand? Another Trinisphere.
There is another transfer. I think there's at least one Chromox. There might actually be two.
Oof.
And a passing of the turn.
Oh.
Okay. Dragon Shadow returns to the board.
Another Ancient Tomb.
Oh
We
boy.
could slowly just chip away at ourselves with Ancient Tombs.
We don't even have to do it that slowly with three of them out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Mark's going to
Oh.
take almost 40% of his life total here in damage from Ancient Tombs in order to cast Fury.
Ooh.
This, if it resolves, which it will, we'll trade 2 for 1. Taking down the Channeler, and then Bernal will be forced to kill it with a Lightning Bolt.
And it looks like one of the draws was a brainstorm too.
Oh, boy, I understand the temptation to just untap for the next turn. And if you draw another Lightning Bolt, then you just win the game. So Bernal's going to play the
Yeah.
Brainstorm here
Okay.
with Surveil. Another Bolt is lethal. This is what is going on here. This is in response to Fury, I assume, although there's no way that Bernal can respond to it at this point anyway.
Yeah. Expressive Iteration was the reveal off the top. But you gotta just dig for the bolts because the Trinisphere is still in play. Oh, I guess you could melt down and then be able to cast 2 bolts, but
all right. Iteration gets dumped. Brainstorm, seize. Days. Raise Borrower, land. Okay. Well, not the best. We do have 6 lands to be able to play 2 spells a turn. It's just a matter of how does Bernal want to handle this. Daze is worthless effectively at this point, unless it does force a tap of an Ancient Tomb at some point.
That's true. Yeah, we are running out of lands on the field in the eyes of life total.
Yeah, Mark Nabors has 1 dead Ancient Tomb as it is. Okay, Fury does take out the Channeler. Bernal will have to kill it, as he did not find a second bolt to be able to bypass the Fury, so he will have to kill it.
I mean, we know that Mark functionally has 2 dead Ancient Tombs because of the... Oh, is that another meltdown again?
It's the same one. He put it back on the Brainstorm.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, Bernal is forced, though, to kill the Fury here because it is a lethal attacker. He could just deploy a creature, I suppose, and chump block, but that doesn't seem like it would be in his best interests. He could bounce with Petty Theft. Okay, that actually works pretty clean because Petty Theft can be redeployed as an attacker and dodge the Fury's ability to come back down on top of it until it's already struck once, and then the Fury's not castable. So this actually works out extremely well for Bernal. Maybe this will be enough to get in the game. He does have the Daze available.
The draw. What was the draw? What are you even looking for if you're Mark? You're just trying to find something that attacks on the ground and it's going to force out this lightning bolt from Joseph.
Yeah, that's what you need. Passing the turn here, if Mark doesn't have another Dead Gun or Pyroblast, and if he has a Pyroblast that came off the deck this... No, I guess he could have had it in hand because he had to tap his 2 mounts for the Fury.
Unfortunately, all of the creatures also do die to a lightning bolt, so...
All right, Mark Nabors down to 4. Casting Simian
Simian
Guide.
Spirit Guide?
That is not going to get it done. This is going to lead to, Brazen Borrower, and then even if there's a removal spell for that, Mark would then die to Lightning Bolt, and there is. Mark's going to Ancient Tomb down to 2.
Oh my god.
This Pyroblast was just, the lack of a third red source is going to cost Mark Nabors this match, and Bernal will win with the Lightning Bolt. So, well executed by Joseph Bernal. Tense match there for Mark Nabors, and you can see the hand left over. 2nd Trinisphere and 2 Chromoxes, all worthless cards. And Joseph Bernal advances to the semifinals.